The night Nicholas Reed was arrested, the sky was a bruised shade of purple, swollen with storm clouds that hadn't yet decided to break. It was the kind of humid evening where even silence felt heavy. Nicholas had just stepped off the bus after a long shift at the recycling warehouse. His shoulders ached, but his spirit was light. Payday was in 2 days. His mother's birthday gift was already hidden in his closet. Life wasn't perfect, but it was stable. He didn't know that in the next 10 minutes, everything he had built would be ripped apart. He passed the Calloway residence like always, neatly trimmed hedges, security lights, and sitting on the porch like a queen overseeing her kingdom. Mrs. Eleanor Calloway, 63, silver hair in a rigid bun, lips pursed as if permanently tasting lemon. She watched Nicholas every day, not discreetly, not subtly, just watched, jaw tight, eyes narrowed, waiting for something to confirm whatever story she told herself about him. Nicholas pretended not to notice. He always did. But tonight, as he stepped onto his walkway, he heard the sounds. Fast footsteps, a gasp, then a thud that sent a shockwave through the quiet street. He turned. Mrs. Calloway was on the ground, clutching her wrist, moaning dramatically. Nicholas froze. He hadn't gone anywhere near her. Before he could take a step, security lights blazed. Then, sirens, red and blue lights, tires screeching. 2 police cruisers swooped in like hawks on prey. Officer Dunn jumped out first, 6'2", shaved head, chest puffed as if the whole street belonged to him. "You!" Dunn barked, pointing at Nicholas. "Step forward with your hands where I can see them." Nicholas blinked. "Me? Officer what?" The second officer, Keller, already had his hand on his holster. Mrs. Calloway screamed from the pavement. "He attacked me. He pushed me down. Arrest him." Nicholas felt something inside him collapse. That's not true. But his voice sounded small under the weight of the accusation. Within seconds, Keller grabbed one wrist, Dunn grabbed the other, and cold metal snapped shut against his skin. No questions. No investigation. Just her word. And his skin. The neighbors peeked out through blinds. Some stepped onto porches. Phones came out. Nicholas could feel their judgment like heat on his back. He tried again. "I didn't touch her. Please. Listen." But his words were swallowed by the click of handcuffs and the sharp shove into the police cruiser. As the door slammed, Nicholas saw Mrs. Calloway smirk briefly. So quick, so sharp, he almost doubted it happened. Almost. The holding cell. 1:42 a.m., cold, metal bench, smell of sweat, disinfectant, and hopelessness. Nicholas stared at the wall as his world unraveled. His thoughts spiraled. My job. My mom. My record. What if they don't believe me? Why would she lie about this? Hours passed like wet cement. Then, the metal door clanked. A guard waved. Phone call. Nicholas dialed his mother. The moment she answered, he regretted it. Her voice was trembled, shredded by fear. "Baby, what happened? They said you hurt that woman?" His heart cracked. "Mama, I swear. I didn't touch her." She cried softly. He felt every tear through the phone. His boss didn't pick up. His best friend sent a text. "Bro, what did you do?" The echo chamber of guilt, undeserved guilt, closed in. The lawyer. By the 3rd day, Nicholas's hope was dust. Then the door opened again, and in stepped Alicia Warren, defense attorney, unshakable, sharp-eyed, and absolutely furious. She sat, crossed her arms. "Nicholas Reed," she said, "tell me everything, slowly, exactly as it happened." He did. She didn't interrupt once. When he finished, she leaned back, tapping her pen hard against the table. "She's lying." Nicholas swallowed. "But why? Why would she?" Alicia cut in. "People lie for power, for attention, for prejudice. But something about this." She narrowed her eyes. "Feels bigger." Nicholas blinked. "Bigger?" Alicia stood. "I'm getting you out of here. And when we walk into that courtroom, things are going to change." For the first time in days, air filled his lungs. A spark of hope. Small, but alive. Courtroom day, 9:14 a.m. The courthouse buzzed with tension as Nicholas walked in. He could feel every stare. The prosecutor smirked confidently. Mrs. Calloway arrived wearing a neck brace as if preparing for a theater production rather than testifying under oath. She took the stand, voice quivering, painting herself as the fragile victim of a violent attack. Nicholas's stomach twisted. He couldn't believe the show she was putting on. Then Alicia stood. "Your Honor." Before proceeding further, the defense has newly obtained video evidence. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. A USB was inserted, a screen flickered on, and the footage played. Mrs. Calloway stepping outside, walking down her porch steps, tripping, falling, hitting the ground. Then, clear as day, clear as sin. Someone's gonna pay for this. The courtroom erupted. Mrs. Calloway went pale. The prosecutor's jaw dropped. The judge banged his gavel. "Case dismissed." "Mrs. Calloway, you are under investigation for filing a false report." Nicholas exhaled. His mother sobbed. Alicia squeezed his shoulder. Justice didn't whisper. It thundered. But outside, as Nicholas walked free, a black SUV idled across the street. Inside, a man with sunglasses whispered into a phone. He wasn't supposed to be cleared. The man in the SUV watched Nicholas walk away with the calculated calm of someone who had already planned the next move. He tucked the phone call into his pocket and lit a cigarette as if he'd just finished watching a casual television show. Across the street, people resumed their small-town rhythms, some whispering, some shaking their heads. The moment looked, at first glance, like the end of a normal Tuesday. It wasn't. 2 days after the courtroom, Nicholas found himself back at the tiny kitchen table in his mother's apartment, trying to breathe through the swirl of gratitude, shame, and fear. He kept replaying the footage in his mind, the way the judge slammed the gavel, the way the prosecutor's shoulders sagged, how Mrs. Calloway's face had gone slack when the truth unspooled. Alicia sat opposite him, coffee cooling at her elbow, laptop open, eyes sharp as ever. "You did great in there," she said, but her voice carried no triumph. It carried calculation. "You got lucky. Someone recorded that fall. Someone was watching." Nicholas rubbed his thumb along the rim of his coffee cup. "Who would do that? Who would—" Alicia didn't answer right away. Instead, she tapped a few notes into her laptop and pulled up a screen. "Your neighbor across the street, Jenkins, the retired mailman, came back from Florida the morning of your hearing. He uploaded doorbell footage to his cloud when he landed. That's how we found it." Nicholas blinked. "So, luck again?" Alicia's jaw tightened. "Not luck. Designated luck. It's too neat. And there are pieces that don't add up. Mrs. Calloway's assets were recently shuffled into a shell company. Her real estate taxes were paid by a third party. Her grandson's car has been seen at warehouses in the industrial district on nights with strange traffic. People who don't usually know one another suddenly have overlapping patterns." Nicholas felt a coldness creep up his spine. The gavel had cleared him, but some teeth in the same machine were still grinding. That evening, a dark sedan pulled up outside Nicholas's mother's building. He watched from the window as two men in nondescript dark jackets walked to the mailbox, exchanged something with a woman who stepped out onto the stoop for a breath, and then left. Nicholas tried to tell himself it was nothing, just life. But the memory of the man in sunglasses whispering into a phone returned, and it wouldn't let him go. A week later, Alicia arrived at a small, windowless coffee shop with a man in an unmarked suit who wore his authority like a subtle perfume. He signed his name on the receipt when the barista set it down. Agent Morales, FBI. He didn't mince words. "Ms. Warren," he said, voice low, "we've been tracking a financial laundering ring that uses elderly property owners as fronts. Mrs. Calloway's name popped up last month. Your client's false accusation being disproven has unexpectedly exposed a few transactions we were watching." Alicia's eyes sharpened. "We suspected as much. Why approach me?" "Because," Morales said, "you threatened to bring forward doorbell footage in open court." He paused, studying Nicholas like he was an open file. "When that footage played, a lot of people on our watch list moved. We intercepted a call referencing a cleanup the day after. We need protection for your client, and we need to understand who stands to lose if this laundromat of properties collapses." Nicholas felt the floor tilt. "Protection?" He laughed, a short, incredulous sound. "Who'd want to hurt me?" The agent's look could have frozen a river. People who hide millions in plain sight. People who tie small-town grudges to large-scale operations. People who don't like to be exposed. That night, Alicia and Agent Morales laid out a plan. Nicholas would be moved to a safe house for a few days, while Morales initiated a quiet probe into Mrs. Calloway's records and the strange chain of transactions Alicia had flagged. Nicholas agreed with the dull resignation of someone who had learned that liberty could feel as precarious as a soap bubble. The safe house was a 2-bedroom apartment furnished in the utilitarian way of places meant for temporary occupancy. The curtains were heavy, the locks new. Nicholas slept poorly, every creak a potential intruder. The first morning there, a knock rattled the front door. Nicholas's heart jumped to his throat. He looked at Alicia, who nodded and mouthed, "Don't answer." Morales moved with the practiced silence of a man who'd seen many such theatrics. He peered through the peephole, whispered, and called into his sleeve. No one left. The sound was their only reminder that the world outside still breathed, malevolent and mundane. Over the next few days, Morales uncovered more than Nicholas or Alicia could have guessed. Bank transfers from an LLC with a name that meant nothing, Old Maple Ventures, to a tiny chain of cleaning companies, receipts that were clearly forged, security camera footage from warehouses in the industrial district showing late-night deliveries to a loading bay registered under a different name. At the center of these threads, someone named E. Calloway was a recurring figure. Signatures, power of attorney forms, and a pattern of payments that didn't match a retiree's savings. On the third night, Nicholas watched old video footage that Morales brought in. Mrs. Calloway shaking hands with a man who looked like a mid-level broker, exchanging a thick envelope beneath the weight of an early morning streetlight. The camera angle was poor, but the exchange was clear. Nicholas felt his stomach roll. "This is more than property flipping," Alicia muttered. "This is organized." Morales nodded. "We think it's a laundering hub. Real estate as a front, elderly homeowners as unwitting or witting strawmen. The funds route through shell companies and then back out as clean income. It's small enough to avoid the big audits, steady enough to be useful." Then came the message that tightened everyone's jaw. An intercepted call mentioning a problem and referencing Alicia's name directly, calling her an annoying mosquito. The voice on the other end chuckled, slow and certain. "We take care of mosquitoes." They stepped up security. Alicia was given a burner phone, Morales applied for emergency surveillance warrants, and Nicholas was warned not to go anywhere without an escort. For a while, the worry felt performative. Overkill for a man who had only been caught in a false accusation. Then, one rainy night, as Nicholas walked back from a supervised grocery run, footsteps mirrored his own. He felt the weight of 2 strangers behind him, quickening. He ducked into a convenience store doorway and pressed himself flat against the cool tile, watching as silhouettes passed the entrance, their conversation muffled. "He was cleared," one said. "We move now." Nicholas's breath stopped. From the doorway, he fumbled for his phone, hands shaking, and dialed Alicia. She answered before he finished the second ring. "Don't move," she whispered. "Don't look back. 2 men just passed the store. Stay where you are. Morales is 5 minutes away." The relief at her voice collided with sharp fear. Then the sound of hurried footsteps outside the store. Then a sharp, metallic click that Nicholas knew in his bones was a gun cocking. He pressed his back against the tiles and forced himself to breathe. He imagined the men outside, their faces blank as 2 bad actors in a play he never auditioned for. A single car stopped in front of the store, then sped off. 5 minutes later, an unmarked sedan arrived with Morales behind the wheel. He opened his door, slid into the store with the confident movement of a man used to danger, and let himself breathe for the first time that evening when he saw Nicholas alive. "We're bumping up the raid," Morales said without preamble. "There's enough probable cause now to move on a few locations. We hit them at dawn." Nicholas closed his eyes. Dawn carried a smell of wet earth and the metallic tang of fear. As Morales briefed the team, a new kind of clarity arrived in Nicholas. The feeling that for the first time since his arrest, he was not just a target or a symbol, he was a lever. If they pulled right, the whole rotten machine might come crashing down. He thought of his mother, of the birthday gift tucked away in his closet before his world unraveled. He thought of Alicia's steady eyes, of Morales's quiet resolve, of Mrs. Calloway's smirk that had been too precise for a woman of 70. And he thought of the man in the SUV who had said he wasn't supposed to be cleared. Nicholas readied himself for the dawn. The morning broke with an eerie stillness. No birds, no breeze, just a heavy, waiting silence. It felt as if the whole city was holding its breath while Agent Morales and his task force assembled in the dim-lit parking lot behind an abandoned hardware store. Tactical vests were strapped, radios tested, weapons checked. Every movement was controlled, practiced. No wasted energy, no wasted fear. Nicholas stood to the side, watching the organized chaos as if it were a movie he couldn't pause. He wasn't part of the team, but he was part of the reason they were hitting the cartel's laundromat. Morales insisted he stay close until the operation moved. A patrol car hovered nearby for his protection. Alicia walked up beside him, her hair tied back, a tightness around her eyes that Nicholas had never seen. "You okay?" she asked. Nicholas kept his eyes on the raid team. "No, but I'm here." "Good." Alicia forced a breath. "Because after this, everything changes." Before he could ask what she meant, Morales raised a fist and circled the team. "Listen up," Morales projected, voice crisp and deadly calm. "Target location: the Riverside Industrial Complex, Warehouse 14. We have probable cause for money laundering, fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy." He paused. "We have intel suggesting 2 armed enforcers may be inside. Moves will be controlled. No heroics. We go in quiet. We leave loud if we have to." His eyes scanned the group, then landed briefly on Nicholas. "Let's move." Engines started. Doors slammed. The convoy pulled out. The warehouse. 14 sat at the far edge of the complex, surrounded by rusted fencing and the kind of silence that felt unnatural. Whoever was inside wasn't expecting guests at dawn, but they weren't asleep either. The feeling was too heavy, too aware. The first team approached the side door, stacking quietly, shadows moving like precision instruments. Morales signaled, "Ram in position." Bang! The door burst open, a burst of shouting followed. "FBI! Hands where we can see them!" Inside were 2 men, one at a metal desk stacked with papers, the other rising from a crate. Both froze at the sight of rifles pointed directly at them. One dropped his phone so fast it clattered across the floor. Within seconds, they were disarmed and cuffed. But the real shock came from what the agents found behind a sliding panel in the back. Stacks of cash, bundled, labeled, vacuum-sealed. Boxes of falsified property deeds. Laptops with spreadsheets mapping out transfers through Old Maple Ventures, Green River Holdings, and a third shell. Sunset Aggregate, LLC. And there, pinned to a corkboard, were photos. Surveillance photos. Nicholas, Alicia, Morales. A gasp left Alicia's throat before she could stop it. Morales ripped one of the photos off the board. "They were tracking us," he said, voice low. "This is bigger than we thought." An agent from the back called out, "Sir, there's a hard drive here. Password protected. Could be their books." Morales nodded. "Bag it. Everything." Then a radio crackled. "Commander, we've got movement outside. SUV approaching from the east." Morales went rigid. The SUV returns. Nicholas, still in the secure car outside the zone, looked up as a familiar vehicle approached the industrial lot. A black SUV, tinted windows, moving slow, almost stalking. His heart stopped. It was the same SUV from the courthouse. The same unseen man who'd whispered he wasn't supposed to be cleared. Nicholas grabbed the officer's arm. "That's him." His voice was low, deadly certain. "That's the guy who watched me at the courthouse." The officer immediately radioed Morales. Unidentified vehicle approaching. Possible hostile. Before Morales could respond, the SUV's back window slid down. Nicholas's breath hitched. Something metallic glinted. "Get down," the officer shouted. A gun muzzle appeared. Then, rat-tat-tat-tat. Gunfire erupted, shredding the air, punching holes through the patrol car's windshield. Nicholas dropped low, covering his head as glass rained down. Officers scrambled behind vehicles. Agents returned fire. The warehouse became a battleground in seconds. Morales ran outside, drawing his weapon. "Take that SUV out. Tires, engine block. No headshots unless necessary." Bullets sparked against asphalt. The SUV swerved wildly, tires screeching, then then tried to speed around the far side of the warehouse. But one agent landed a perfect shot. A front tire exploded. The SUV spun, hit a pole, and stopped. Agents surrounded it instantly. "Driver down!" They pulled the man out, a Latino male in his 40s, muscular tattooed forearm, hardened expression even while bleeding from the forehead. But he wasn't the one Nicholas saw. The passenger side door opened. Slowly. Boots touched the ground. A man stepped out wearing black gloves, calm despite the chaos. No sunglasses now. Same face, same jawline. The man from the courthouse. Nicholas felt a surge of cold fury. "That's him," he whispered, pointing. Morales raised his weapon. "Hands where I can see them," the man smirked. "You shouldn't have cleared the boy." That was enough. Agents tackled him to the ground. Interrogation room. The man was identified as Raul Vega, a mid-level lieutenant for the Delgado cartel and the personal handler of the Calloway laundering operation. Vega sat in the steel interrogation chair, bleeding but grinning, like a man who had eaten fear for breakfast his entire life. His wrists were cuffed, his posture relaxed. Morales stood across from him with Alicia at his side. "You tried to kill a protected witness," Morales said. "You're going away for a long time." Vega rolled his tongue against his cheek. "Witness?" he snorted. "He's nothing. A pawn. A lucky boy who got in the way." Alicia's voice was sharp. "You framed an innocent man to cover activity at the property. Why?" Vega shrugged. "Distraction. You need something loud to keep eyes off something quiet." Morales leaned in. So Calloway wasn't acting alone. A smile unfurled across Vega's face. She was never the boss. Silence. Alicia and Morales exchanged a look. "Then who was?" Morales asked. Vega's grin widened. "Her son." Alicia froze. Morales felt the weight of that revelation land like a stone. Mrs. Calloway had a son, Nathan Calloway, estranged, rarely seen, rumored to be a failure drifting between jobs. But that was a lie. Nathan Calloway was the architect, the mastermind, the one Nicholas had never seen, but the one who had ordered Nicholas's silence. The real target. Nicholas wasn't framed because he was a convenient scapegoat. He was framed because he once saw Nathan Calloway without knowing it. A month earlier, Nicholas had walked home at the wrong time, passing Mrs. Calloway's yard while Nathan did a late-night drop-off disguised as a repair visit. Nathan saw him. Nicholas didn't realize anything was wrong, but Nathan had. And now, armed with Vega's confession, Morales knew they weren't dealing with a petty front. They were dealing with a strategist, one who hadn't run yet, one who might strike again. The reveal of Nathan Calloway's name hit the task force room like a bomb. For a long moment, no one moved. No one breathed. Nicholas sat rigid in the chair beside Alicia, eyes wide, fingers digging into his knees. "Her son?" Alicia repeated. "Nathan Calloway?" Morales nodded slowly, processing the spiral of implications. She wasn't the brains. She was the liability. He was the structure. Vega chuckled softly from behind the one-way mirror in the interrogation room, as if he could feel the shock from across the hall. Nicholas's voice came out tight. "I didn't even know she had a son." Alicia turned to him, her voice steady. "She kept him hidden. People assumed he moved away after some failed business. In reality, he built a criminal pipeline under her roof." Morales pulled up a digital file on the screen, mugshot-like images, surveillance captures, documents linking Nathan to Calloway-owned properties, to the shell companies, to known Delgado associates, a pattern, a signature, and a face. Nathan Calloway wasn't the frail disappointment rumors had painted. He was mid-40s, sharply dressed, lean, eyes focused like a man perpetually 5 steps ahead. He's been acting as a silent partner. Morales clicked through the files, managing acquisitions, distributing laundered funds, coordinating drops. Mrs. Calloway was simply the respectable homeowner used as a shield. Nicholas swallowed. "Why target me?" Alicia answered before Morales could. "Because you saw him." Nicholas froze. A cold realization washed through him. 1 month earlier, Nicholas walked home from a late shift, tired, dragging his feet. He passed the Calloway house like always. A man, tall, wearing a hooded jacket, stood at the back gate, pulling a heavy case from an unmarked van. Their eyes locked for a single second. Nicholas didn't think anything of it. Just a contractor, he assumed. Nathan, however, thought differently. To a man running an illegal laundering network, a stranger's glance could mean everything. It could mean exposure. It could mean risk. It could mean someone who needed to disappear. Back in the task force office, Morales closed the file. He saw Nicholas. He panicked, and instead of killing you immediately, he chose a slower, cleaner method. Frame you, distract everyone, shift suspicion elsewhere. Nicholas shook his head slowly. And his mother went along with it? Alicia's voice softened. I don't think she understood how far he would go. But she participated. She lied. She pointed at you. Nicholas exhaled, heavy, wounded, exhausted. What now? Morales leaned forward. Now, we hunt him. The city turns cold. Nathan Calloway had vanished. No bank activity, no phone calls, no credit card transactions. His known vehicles were untouched. His last appearance on traffic cams was 2 days before Vega's arrest. He was careful. He was smart, and he was becoming more dangerous every second he remained unseen. Morales paced the briefing room. We need leverage, someone he trusts, someone he speaks to. An agent suggested using Vega as bait, but Vega laughed in their faces through the glass. He trusts no one. You'll never catch him with the usual tricks. So they tried unusual ones. Alicia dug through Mrs. Calloway's personal files, her journals, her emails. Every entry that mentioned my Nathan painted a picture of a man both brilliant and resentful, a son who believed the world owed him more. Nicholas listened to the recordings of intercepted calls, trying desperately to find a voice that matched the hooded figure he saw that night. But Nathan was a ghost. Until he wasn't. The phone call. 3 days after the raid, Nicholas sat alone in the safe house living room, the TV playing quietly in the background. Alicia had stepped out to meet Morales, leaving Nicholas under guard. Then the phone rang. Not the burner phone, not his personal phone. The landline. The number displayed, unknown caller. Nicholas hesitated. The officer on shift frowned. He lifted the receiver and handed it to Nicholas cautiously. Nicholas pressed it to his ear. At first, silence. Then, a low voice, controlled, smooth, dangerous. You survived. Every muscle in Nicholas's body locked. Nathan. He knew it without knowing how. Who is this? Nicholas asked, though his voice shook, a soft, mirthless chuckle. You saw something you weren't meant to see, and because of you, my operation is compromised. Nicholas swallowed hard. I didn't see anything. Lies make you sound weak, Nathan murmured. You saw me, at my mother's house, and that made you a problem. Nicholas tried to form words, but his throat constricted. Nathan continued, my mother was supposed to keep you quiet, but she failed. A pause, a hint of venom. She always was. Unreliable. Nicholas's stomach twisted. What do you want from me? Nothing, Nathan said, because you won't matter in a few days. Before Nicholas could respond, the line clicked dead. The room stayed frozen in place. The officer beside him grabbed the phone. Call Morales, now. The lockdown? Within 15 minutes, the safe house swarmed with agents. Morales rushed in first, Alicia right behind him. Tell me every word, Morales commanded. Nicholas repeated the call verbatim. Morales's face darkened. He's taunting us. That means he's close, Alicia added, voice tight. He also said you won't matter in a few days. That means he's planning something big. Morales nodded grimly. We need to assume he's preparing to flee the country, or eliminate someone major in our investigation. Then an agent ran in with new intel. Sir, we traced the call. He bounced it off local towers. He's in the city. Morales's jaw clenched. Then tonight, we hunt him back. The trap. The agents set up a digital net. tracking unusual purchases, movement patterns, dark web activity. They watched every known associate. They followed the money trails Vega left exposed. Then, at 2:14 a.m., a hit came through. A silent alarm triggered at an abandoned house registered under Mrs. Calloway's name, located in a quiet suburb. Nathan had never once been recorded visiting that property. Until now. Morales slammed a fist onto the table. That's it. That's where he's hiding. Nicholas felt a chill. Alicia touched Nicholas's arm. Stay here. Not negotiable. But Nicholas shook his head. Nathan's targeting me. If he runs, he'll keep coming for me. Morales studied him for a long moment, then nodded once. You stay behind the armored vehicle. No exceptions. Nicholas agreed. The convoy rolled out. The night was black and windless. Something in the air felt wrong. Alive. Waiting. The convoy approached the abandoned Calloway property with engines off and adrenaline high. It was a small, decaying two-story home tucked behind dying oak trees. No lights, no signs of movement, but a tension clung to the air. Thick, electric, undeniable. Morales lifted a fist. The teams dismounted silently. Nicholas stayed behind the armored vehicle, helmet on, body shaking despite the gear. Alicia crouched beside him. Stay down. Stay quiet. Don't move unless I say. Nicholas nodded, but that tight knot of dread in his chest pulsed harder. He didn't know if it was instinct or fear, but something told him Nathan wasn't just inside. He was ready. The entry SWAT approached the door in a tight formation. Ram poised. Guns raised. Bam! The door crashed open. Agents stormed in. FBI, show your hands. Nothing. The house was empty. Too empty. Furniture missing. Rooms stripped. Dust sheets tossed aside. A coffee mug still warm on the table. Recently placed. Morales' voice growled through the radio. He was just here. Everyone stay sharp. Then it happened. A metallic click echoed, followed by a beeping sound. Morales' head snapped toward the hallway. Get out! Explosive. Move! But the blast detonated before anyone could reach the door. Boom! The house erupted in fire and splintered wood, the shockwave tossing agents backward like ragdolls. Nicholas ducked instinctively as flames shot into the sky. Alicia screamed. Morales hit the ground hard but rolled to shield his head. Debris rained down everywhere. They'd walked straight into Nathan's trap. The ghost steps out. Smoke billowed from the collapsing structure as agents dragged each other to safety. Nicholas coughed violently, eyes burning. Then, through the smoke, he saw movement. A silhouette on the roof of the neighboring shed. Tall. Calm. Watching the inferno like it was a show. Nathan Calloway. Nicholas pointed frantically. There! On the roof! Morales scrambled to his feet. Alicia grabbed her weapon. Nathan lifted a hand and waved. Not mocking, but casual, as if greeting old friends. Then he jumped off the shed roof and bolted into the trees. Morales barked the command. Move! Move! Don't let him disappear. Agents chased him into the dark, but Nicholas, acting on pure instinct, sprinted after them, ignoring Alicia's shout behind him. He didn't think. He just ran. The forest hunt. Tree branches slashed Nicholas's arms as he pushed deeper into the shadows. Nathan moved like a phantom, fast, silent, familiar with every inch of the terrain. But Nicholas was fueled by something stronger than training. He was fueled by rage, by fear, by the months Nathan stole from his life. Ahead, through the branches, Nicholas saw him stop beside a rusted chain-link fence. Nathan turned slightly, breathing hard but composed. You're persistent, Nathan said calmly. Nicholas froze 10 feet away. You ruined my life. Nathan shrugged. Collateral damage. Nicholas's fists clenched. I was nothing to you, just someone walking home. Why frame me? Why destroy everything? Nathan smiled, cold, emotionless. Because you saw something you weren't meant to see. I couldn't risk exposure. You became inconvenient. Nicholas felt heat rise through his chest. You could have talked to me. You could have explained. Nathan's laugh was sharp. Criminals don't explain. They eliminate. Then Nicholas noticed it. Nathan's hand slipping toward something tucked inside his jacket. Nicholas flinched, but before he could react, crack! A single shot rang out. Nathan jerked back, collapsing onto the dirt. Behind Nicholas, Agent Morales lowered his weapon, breath ragged. "Step away from him," Morales yelled. Nicholas stumbled back. His heart pounded in his skull. Nathan lay on his side, bleeding, struggling to breathe. His voice was a rasp. "This is not over." Morales approached with agents flanking him. "It is now." Nathan's eyelids fluttered. A final breath escaped him, and the forest fell silent. The aftermath. Hours later, the property was secured. Evidence collected. Explosive residue analyzed. Agents treated for burns and injuries. Alicia found Nicholas sitting on an ambulance bumper, wrapped in a foil blanket. He stared into the distance, lost. She sat beside him. "You tracked him," she said. "Morales said you were the reason they spotted him before he escaped." Nicholas didn't respond. Alicia tried again. "You ended something huge today." Nicholas finally spoke, voice low, trembling. "I didn't want him dead. I wanted him to face it, to stand in court, to answer for what he did to me." Alicia placed a hand on his shoulder. "He would have killed you, and he would have kept killing. Morales made the hard call." Nicholas swallowed hard. "But why do I feel nothing? No peace. Just empty." Alicia exhaled softly. "That's trauma, Nicholas. It doesn't vanish when justice shows up." The true justice moment. When the sun rose, Morales approached them with a folder. Inside were documents cleared for release, proof of Nicholas's innocence, proof of the laundering network, evidence linking Nathan to violent crimes, extortion, fraud, and conspiracy, and at the center, Nicholas's false accusation. Morales spoke gently. "We'll make a public statement today. People will know the truth, not just the legal truth, the full truth." Nicholas nodded slowly. For the first time since this nightmare began, he felt something shift inside his chest. Not relief, not triumph, but justice. Real justice. The kind forged in fire and blood and truth. Epilogue. 6 months later, Nicholas stood on a stage beneath bright lights at a community justice event. Alicia stood beside him. Morales sat in the front row. Nicholas cleared his throat and faced the audience. "I was the wrongfully accused." He paused. "But today, I am the man who survived it." The crowd erupted in applause. He continued. "I learned that racism is not just a moment, it's a system, and systems only change when the truth is louder than the lies that protect them." A camera flash went off. Nicholas didn't flinch. "I lost my job, my peace, my safety." He looked at Alicia, then at Morales. "But I gained something stronger. I gained a voice." He stepped back from the podium. A standing ovation rose like thunder. For the first time in a long time, Nicholas felt whole. Justice, finally, had roared.